hum of the cargo shuttle's engines is constant. A familiar drone that punctuates the airlock's hiss. I check my Huda. No messages, no updates. Just another day in the sprawl. The interior lights flicker slightly as I step into the cockpit, sensors clicking to life around me. The view outside shows nothing but the endless expanse of twisted metal and concrete slabs that pass for roads here. Cargo pods line the sides, their exteriors scuffed from countless landings and takeoffs. My hands move methodically over the control saw, fingers tapping at screens, eyes scanning readouts. The planet is alive out there, but inside this shuttle, it's just another part of the system. I do not think about it. It's not my job to wonder. The intercom crackles briefly before cutting off. No one else around today, which suits me fine. The cargo list updates on my Hudeka standard shipments, components, supplies, and waste materials. The route is clear for now. No major disruptions reported. I set the coordinates, the autopilot engaging with a soft beep. The terrain outside shifts from ruins to more ruins, punctuated by occasional patches of vegetation, trying in vain to reclaim what is left. Feels like this place has always been broken, never really whole. The shuttle glides smoothly over the debris, the view through the cockpit windows showing nothing but decay and neglect. A maintenance drone zips past on one side, its lights blinking as it scans for damage. I sip from my water bottle, the taste familiar and bland. There is no chatter in here today to fill the silence. The system is quiet, a reflection of the emptiness outside. Cargo pods lock into place with mechanical precision, their weight shifting slightly beneath me. The autopilot handles the navigation flawlessly, avoiding any major obstructions. My eyes drift over the instruments, altitude, speed, fuel levels, all within acceptable ranges. I check my watch. Our time moves differently here, a blur of shifts and schedules. No sense of urgency or importance, just another day in transit. The cargo list updates again, a few more components added to the load. The shuttle's AI confirms the new arrivals with a soft voice, its tone mechanical but reassuring. I run through my checklist once more. No issues detected. The route ahead is clear. No need for manual intervention. Outside, the landscape remains unchanged at ruins and decay, stretching as far as the eye can see. It feels like this place has always been this way, never really built to last. But the taun's not something I think about. It's just part of what I see every day. The shuttle banks slightly, adjusting course for a series of concrete pillars jutting out from the ground. They loom large in my periphery, their surfaces pitted and weathered by time. The autopilot guides us past them without issue, the engines maintaining a steady hum. I stretch my arms, feeling the slight ache from sitting too long. It's just another shift, nothing special. The cargo pods are secure, the route clear. I do not need to do anything but wait for the next update or signal from base. The terrain outside shifts again, more ruins, more vegetation struggling against the decay. But it all feels normal, expected. No place here seems permanent anymore. Everything is transient and replaceable. The shuttle systems remain stable, its AI running checks in the background. I reach for my headset. No calls waiting, no messages to address. Just another day of routine and repetition. The planet outside might be alive, but inside this shuttle, it's just operational data and maintenance tasks. I do not have time or reason to think about anything else. The autopilot alerts me to an incoming transmission, a dispatch from base, a standard update on the next set of deliveries. I acknowledge receipt, my fingers moving over the controls as usual. The cargo list updates once more on new components added, new waste materials to be transported out. I sip water again, the taste familiar and unremarkable. There is no one around here to talk to, no one to ask questions or voice concerns. Just me and the systems, following orders and completing tasks. The view outside remains unchanged, constant loop of ruins and vegetation fighting against entropy. It feels like this place has always been this way, never really built to last. But the taun's not something I worry about. Etats, just part of what I see every day. I run through my checklist one more time on issues detected. The route ahead is clear, the cargo secure. Time moves forward, but there is no sense of urgency or importance here. Just another shift in transit, nothing special. The shuttle's engines hum steadily as it glides over the terrain, avoiding any major obstructions. My eyes drift back to the instrumenta, altitude, speed, fuel level saw, all within acceptable ranges. I do not need to do anything but wait for the next update or signal from base. No place feels permanent anymore. Just another day in transit between ruined sites. I wait to the hum of machinery, a steady rhythm that anchors my day. My tasks are clear. Check the air quality readings, recalibrate sensors, and run diagnostics on the environmental suits. Each step follows a meticulous checklist. No room for deviation. The shuttle's interior is cold and sterile. Its surface is slick with condensation from outside. I don uniform layers meticulously, each piece designed to withstand the harsh climate outside. Gloves, boots, maska. Each item clicks into place as I move through routine motions. The airlock sequence triggers a brief countdown before releasing me into the atmosphere. Outside, the landscape is barren and relentless, but my focus remains on the checklist. My first task involves collecting soil samples from designated sites. Each sample goes into numbered containers, marked with barcodes for tracking. I follow predetermined paths, avoiding areas flagged as hazardous. The terrain shifts underfoot, but my movements are precise and practiced. No thought is wasted. Each action is a tick off the list. Returning to the shuttle, I process the samples in the lab module. Machines analyze compounds, spitting out data that streams back to HQ for review. This work is methodical, requiring attention but not creativity. The results are inconsequential in the larger scope of operations, yet they must be completed. Later, maintenance duties await. Servicing equipment and repairing minor damages are part of the cycle. Tools are organized on racks, each one familiar from countless uses. I replace faulty parts with ease, knowing exactly where to find replacements. Efficiency is key. Downtime means delays. Throughout these tasks, there's a sense of detachment. Each action feels predetermined, part of an endless chain of events. Time loses meaning here, measured only by the completion of cycles and rotations. The day ends as it began, with me transitioning back into uniform layers for sleep mode. Silence envelops the shuttle once more, broken only by distant machinery and occasional system alerts. Tomorrow brings another set of tasks, each one building upon the last without altering the course ahead. I am here because this work is being done. The heat is constant, an unyielding presence that presses against the skin and seeps through every pore. It's there when I wake up in the morning, lingering over my breakfast rations, and it stays with me throughout the day as I work on the conveyor belt, sorting recyclables into their designated bins. The air feels thick, heavy with moisture, and the sweat trickles down my back without pause. By midday, the heat begins to feel less like a physical sensation and more like an ambient condition. It's still there, but it doesn't demand as much attention. I can focus on the tasks at hand, moving from one bin to another, sorting and labeling with mechanical precision. The air is dense and warm, but it no longer distracts me from my work. As the day wears on, the heat fades further into the background. It's always present, a persistent backdrop that doesn't require any conscious acknowledgement. I move through the afternoon shifts without thinking about the warmth, my mind occupied by the rhythm of the conveyor belt and the endless stream of materials passing before me. The air is still thick with humidity, but it no longer feels oppressive or intrusive. By evening, the heat has become almost imperceptible, It's a baseline condition that doesn't register in any significant way. I finish my shift, remove my suit, and feel the familiar chill of the shuttle as I step inside. The air is cooler now, but the residual warmth from earlier remains a faint memory, like an echo of something once noticed but no longer relevant. The next day begins much the same way, with the heat present but subdued. It's part of the environment, a constant that doesn't demand attention or thought. I move through my tasks as if on autopilot, my mind focused solely on efficiency and protocol. The world around me is predictable and unremarkable, a cycle that continues without interruption or deviation. The days blend together, each one similar to the last, with the heat fading further into the background of my awareness. It's there, but it no longer affects me in any significant way. I go through the motions, completing my tasks without pause or reflection. The world around me, a series of unchanging conditions that demand nothing more than adherence and routine. The sensory input remains constant yet fades with each recurrence. The heat is still present, but it has become a condition rather than an experience. It's always there, but it no longer demands any conscious awareness. I move through my days without resistance or notice, the world around me remaining unchanged and unremarkable. The shuttle hums quietly as I move through the dimly lit corridors, my movements synchronized with those around me. We are a well-oiled machine, each person's actions predictable and fluid. There is no need for words. We flow into our tasks like gears meshing seamlessly. The heat from the living planet presses against us constantly, but it is a familiar pressure that requires no attention. I enter the main work area where others are already at their stations. They move in unison, their bodies forming a rhythm of assembly and disassembly. The parts we handle are cold to the touch, contrasting sharply with the oppressive warmth outside. We pass tools and components without hesitation, each handover precise and practiced. There is no need for acknowledgement. We are interchangeable cogs in an intricate mechanism. The tasks are repetitive but methodical. Each step follows a predetermined path, reducing our movements to a series of efficient actions. The air is thick with the scent of machinery and recycled air, yet it does not bother me. I focus solely on my checklist, completing each item without deviation. Time loses meaning as we work in concert, blending into an uninterrupted flow. A colleague steps beside me, their presence merging seamlessly into the rhythm. We do not speak. Our actions are a language of their own. They pass me a tool, and I hand over a completed part, neither pausing nor breaking stride. Our movements become one continuous motion, a seamless transition from person to machine. The cycle repeats endlessly, each day blending indistinguishably into the next. The work is inconsequential but necessary, driven by protocol rather than personal connection or purpose. We are replaceable parts in this vast system, our roles interchangeable and unremarkable. There is no sense of unity or shared belief. We operate purely on function and efficiency. The heat outside remains constant, a background condition that demands nothing from us. Our work continues without interruption, each shift blending into the next with mechanical precision. The edges between people blur, dissolving into the process itself. We are not individuals, but parts of a larger whole, moving in perfect coordination toward a common goal defined by protocol and routine. As I complete my checklist for the day, another colleague takes over smoothly, their movements integrating seamlessly into our established rhythm. There is no need for transition or pause. We simply continue as if one entity. The work feels endless but manageable, each task flowing into the next with practiced ease. We are a collective labor force, united not by sentiment, but by shared routine and functional necessity. The day blends into the next with a familiar rhythm, each task a repetition of the one before it. The checklist guides my movements, hands moving through motions that are as routine as breathing. I don't question why or how. There is no need to probe deeper than the surface level. My existence here feels temporary, but acceptable, fitting neatly into the broader framework without seeking permanence. The environment remains unchanged today, warm and oppressive outside, sterile and controlled inside. There's no reason to pause or reflect on its impact. Each shift begins and ends with a sense of inevitability, the tasks unfolding like clockwork. The air is thick with the hum of machinery, but it is a sound I've long ceased to notice. I move through my duties without hesitation, each action precise and mechanical. There's no room for deviation or spontaneity. The checklist leaves little to interpretation. My focus narrows as I complete one task after another, marking progress, not with any sense of accomplishment, but with the satisfaction of routine adherence. Time blurs around me, merging into a continuous stream that lacks distinct moments or milestones. The days bleed together in an unremarkable haze, each shift a seamless continuation of the last. There's no need to distinguish one day from another. They all serve the same purpose and fulfill the same requirements. I sit at my station, fingers moving over controls without conscious thought. The data streams before me are a constant flow of information, processed and filed away with methodical precision. The screens glow dimly in the artificial light, casting shadows that shift subtly as I work. There is no need to question or analyze. The tasks require only completion. The heat outside presses against the walls, but it is just another detail of the environment. It does not demand attention or acknowledgement beyond maintaining the systems designed to mitigate its effects. The air conditioning hums quietly, a background noise that blends seamlessly into the routine. As I continue my work, there's no sense of urgency or anticipation. Each task unfolds without drama, each step following logically from the one before it. There is no room for doubt or curiosity. The checklist provides clear direction and purpose. My movements are synchronized with those around me, a well-oiled machine that operates smoothly without any need for individual input. The day progresses without incident, marked only by routine tasks and procedural adherence. Nothing feels missing or unresolved. Everything is as it should be within this confined space. The work continues, each moment blending seamlessly into the next, leaving no room for anything more than mechanical precision and unwavering focus. The tasks here are driven by necessity rather than sentiment. Each action follows a precise protocol designed to ensure stability and efficiency within the system. The repetitive nature of these duties serves as a stabilizing force, anchoring us in a predictable routine that minimizes risk and optimizes output. Detachment is not a flaw but an asset. It allows for unwavering focus on the task at hand without emotional interference. Emotions can introduce variability and inefficiency into our operations, so we maintain a neutral state to ensure consistency and reliability. The environment may be harsh, but it's simply part of the terrain we must navigate. Our response is not one of resistance or complaint, but adaptation. The protocols are crafted with safety margins in mind, ensuring that even under stress, performance remains steady. This rigidity prevents potential disruptions and ensures that each component functions as intended without deviation. The rules are not arbitrary dictates, but practical responses to the operational conditions we face. Strictness is a safeguard against unforeseen variables. It's not about punitive measures or moral judgments, but about maintaining order in an unpredictable world. Our adherence to these protocols is what keeps us running smoothly and efficiently, ensuring that our output remains stable and predictable despite external pressures. The monotony of the tasks may seem oppressive at times, but it serves a purpose. Each day blending into the next without significant change creates a baseline for predictability. This consistency allows us to identify anomalies quickly when they arise, rather than being overwhelmed by constant fluctuations. The sterility of our environment is not an indictment of its design, but a reflection of its functional requirements. In this system, individuality is secondary to collective efficiency. Our roles are defined and limited to ensure that everyone operates within the same framework, minimizing the potential for error or conflict. This uniformity allows us to work in harmony, each movement synchronized with the next, without the need for constant adjustment or recalibration. The environment's oppressive heat is simply a condition we must manage. It demands our attention but does not dictate our response. We adapt through routine and protocol rather than emotional reaction. The monotony of daily tasks is a buffer against chaos, allowing us to maintain a steady pace and output without the distraction of unnecessary complexity or personal whims. This rigidity fosters stability and ensures that each component of the system operates as intended, contributing to the overall efficiency and reliability of our operations. In this context, strictness is not an imposition, but a necessity for survival and functionality in a challenging environment. The extraction rate has stabilized at 85% efficiency this week. A minor deviation was noted yesterday, but was corrected within parameters without incident. The environmental impact assessment shows a tolerable degradation level of 3%, well within the acceptable range for continued operation. Resource yield is consistent with projections, and an adjusted allocation to compensate for slight fluctuations in atmospheric conditions. The machinery functions optimally under current constraints, reducing downtime and ensuring minimal loss margins. Discomfort is an abstract concept. It translates into logistical data points that inform adjustments. Pain becomes a metric, quantified and mitigated through procedural adherence. Emotions are a relevant variable saw. They do not factor into the operational framework. Living organisms within extraction zones of plants, animals are monitored as biological components of the system. Their presence or absence is recorded in terms of biomass and resource potential. This data informs future strategies for sustainable extraction without compromising efficiency. The monotony of repetition reinforces stability. Variability introduces risk, which must be minimized through rigid protocols. Individual deviations are anomalies to be corrected, not personal grievances to be addressed. Collective efficacy outweighs individual desires. The system's survival is paramount over any single entity's welfare. Efficiency metrics dictate that discomfort and suffering dissolve into statistical insignificance. The numbers speak for themselves. Output remains steady, margins remain tight, protocols remain intact. This rational calculus provides a sense of control and order amidst chaos, ensuring operations proceed without unnecessary interference or disturbance. In this system, the individual is a node in a larger network, contributing to an overarching goal through precise, unemotional calculation. The air feels thick, heavy with the weight of the world's demands. Each breath is a measured intake, carefully regulated to maintain equilibrium. The skin prickles under the relentless heat, beads of sweat forming and sliding down my back like tiny rivers carving paths through rock. I move methodically, each step deliberate and purposeful, even as fatigue begins to seep into my bones. The machinery hums around me, a constant rhythm that syncs with my heartbeat. It's not just noise. It tones the symphony of progress, an orchestra, playing out the inevitable march forward. My eyes scan the monitors, noting fluctuations in temperature and pressure readings. The numbers shift, but they stay within acceptable bounds, so confirmation that everything remains under control. My hands grip the controls tighter as I adjust parameters, fine-tuning operations to optimize efficiency. Each tweak brings a sense of accomplishment, like sculpting a form from raw material. There's no room for error here. Every deviation could mean instability, potential failure. But I am trained, programmed to see beyond discomfort and into necessity. The sun beats down relentlessly outside the dome, casting harsh shadows that shift with each passing moment. Inside, Eton's a different kind of light, brighter, more clinical. The fluorescent tubes flicker intermittently, but never fail entirely. Each flicker is a reminder of the system's resilience, its ability to adapt and continue functioning despite external pressures. My throat feels dry, parched from the constant inhalation of recycled air. Water is scarce, another resource we must manage with precision. But I know that every drop conserved here means more elsewhere, ensuring the whole remains balanced. The thirst is a minor inconvenience, a signal to be mindful, not something to dwell on or complain about. As night approaches, the temperature drops slightly, but only marginally. Eton's a reminder of the climate's hostility, an ever-present challenge that we must overcome. The chill nips at my extremities, but it does not penetrate my focus. Instead, I see it as another data point, part of the larger picture that needs constant monitoring. The routine continues without pause. My body adapts to the strain, each muscle and sinew working in harmony with the machines around me. There is no room for sentimentality. Emotions are a luxury we cannot afford. Each day blends into the next, marked only by incremental progress and the relentless pursuit of efficiency. In this environment, stress is simply another form of information. It tells me that systems are functioning as intended, pushing boundaries but never breaking them. The discomfort is not an enemy to be fought. Ita, a partner in the ongoing dance of survival. Every ache and strain serves its purpose, informing my actions and guiding my decisions. I remain detached from emotional responses, viewing myself as part of a larger mechanism that operates with cold precision. There is no room for doubt or hesitation here, only certainty and action. The monotony is not oppressive. It taunts the backdrop against which I paint the future, one meticulous step at a time. The world outside may be harsh, but within these walls, we have created an order that sustains us. Each breath taken, each task completed, reaffirms our place in this cycle of relentless progress. And so, with every challenge met and overcome, I continue to move forward, driven by the necessity of survival rather than any sense of moral or emotional imperative. This is how it must be. This is how we thrive. As I move through the day's routine, each task aligns with a sense of purpose. The monotony serves its function by allowing for clear focus and minimizing distractions. However, there is an occasional whisper of doubt, a fleeting hesitation when my hand pauses over a control panel, questioning the necessity of this action in the broader context of our mission. This pause is brief, almost imperceptible, but it's enough to draw attention. The thought that arises feels like a minor glitch, an anomaly within the otherwise well-oiled machinery of my mind. It questions if there could be another way, perhaps more efficient or less taxing. But such musings are irrelevant in the face of established protocols. I correct this deviation internally, reminding myself that every action is not just a task to complete, but a component in the larger structure of our operations. The system's efficiency relies on adherence and consistency, and any deviation, no matter how small, introduces risk. This correction feels responsible and professional, ensuring that I am contributing to stability rather than undermining it. The doubt dissipates as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. Each task becomes an affirmation of my role in the system, where every cog is essential for its function. The monotony now serves not just as a background hum, but as a steady rhythm that guides me toward our collective goals without interruption. This internal adjustment feels like a natural evolution, a sign of maturity rather than mere obedience. It reinforces the understanding that within this framework, questioning can be counterproductive, and that adherence to established methods is essential for maintaining operational integrity. The rigidity of protocols offers a clear path forward, eliminating ambiguity and doubt. Each task becomes a predictable sequence of actions, reducing the need for emotional engagement or personal judgment. The system, though demanding, is efficient in its operation, ensuring that every component functions as intended without deviation. The environment, harsh as it may be, serves merely as a backdrop to my tasks. Heat and fatigue are minor variables, easily managed through disciplined routines. My breathing remains steady, my movements precise, each action contributing to the larger machina's stability. There is no room for personal grievances or emotional responses. They only serve to disrupt the delicate balance of efficiency. Questions about necessity and purpose occasionally surface, but these thoughts are quickly dismissed in favor of adherence to protocols. The system values consistency over deviation, and my role within it is clear: maintain order, reduce risk, ensure continuity. Each small victory, each routine task completed without error, reinforces this clarity. In the monotony of repetition lies a sense of control and an order. I am no longer questioning or resisting. Rather, I am a cog in an intricate machine, contributing to its function with unwavering precision. The system is not ideal, but it works, and my place within it is defined by necessity and efficiency. This internal balance brings a settled feeling, devoid of relief, but grounded in correctness. Each task completed reinforces the stability and predictability of the system. My role, though demanding, is clear: contribute to the whole without question or deviation. There is no room for emotional interference. Only logical adherence ensures the smooth operation of our collective machinery. The monotony continues, each day blending into the next with a sense of purpose and routine. The environment remains unchanged, but my acceptance of it solidifies my place within this system. Each breath, each movement, each task completed is a testament to the correctness of my role. This is where I find stability, a thin layer of certainty in an otherwise chaotic world. Today's schedule started as usual, with a series of routine tasks that have become second nature. Each step is ingrained, from the precise movements required to maintain equipment to the meticulous checks necessary for operational stability. The environment remains relentless in its demands, unyielding heat and persistent fatigue, but these are minor inconveniences I've learned to manage through disciplined routines. This morning, however, there was a slight alteration. A sensor malfunctions during my initial diagnostics, requiring an immediate recalibration. Eton's a task that should take mere minutes, but the process feels unexpectedly cumbersome. Each adjustment seems to demand more attention than usual, and despite my efforts, I find myself needing to double-check every setting. The minor discrepancy disrupts my usual efficiency. The heat is more oppressive today, seeping through the air conditioning system, with an insistent persistence that demands a higher level of concentration. My movements slow slightly as I regulate my breathing, ensuring each breath aligns perfectly with the task at hand. Eton's like threading needles underwater. Every action feels both crucial and laborious. Another anomaly surfaces when reviewing the data feeds. A slight variance in output readings necessitates an additional verification run through before proceeding to the next phase of operation. This redundancy is standard protocol, yet it introduces a subtle delay that adds to the mounting intricacies. Each step requires more mental effort than before, with no clear reason for this increased strain. Despite these challenges, I remain focused and disciplined. The discomfort is merely data to be managed, not an obstacle to overcome. Every adjustment, every recalibration serves its purpose in maintaining stability. Yet there is a growing sense that the system's familiar efficiency is slipping, replaced by a need for greater vigilance and effort. The environmental interference continues as I move through my task. Sawdust particles seem more prevalent, complicating cleanup procedures. Minor equipment gremlins require additional troubleshooting. Each issue resolves itself eventually, but demands an extra layer of attention and patience. The monotony that once provided comfort now feels slightly unsettling in its unpredictability. As the day progresses, these small inefficiencies accumulate, challenging the system's smooth operation without disrupting it entirely. It taunts as if the machinery is showing signs of wear, requiring more care to function optimally. Yet, there is no room for deviation from protocol. Each step remains essential, despite the added friction. I complete my tasks with renewed focus, ensuring every detail aligns perfectly before moving on. The effort required feels disproportionate to the outcome, yet I maintain my discipline without complaint. Efficiency is still paramount, even as it demands more of me than usual. The system works, but there is a growing awareness that its continued function requires increasing vigilance and patience. I review today's readings and projections, comparing them against the physical reality around me. The data suggests a steady state of efficiency and order. Yet as I move through my tasks, I notice subtle inconsistencies that do not align with these numbers. The automated systems are reporting nominal performance, but the actual operations feel lagging and inefficient. For instance, I consult the report on resource allocation for today's maintenance cycle. According to the system, resources should be sufficient and evenly distributed across all units. Yet, as I proceed to my assigned area, I find that several components require more attention than anticipated. The readings indicate optimal conditions, but when I engage with the physical machinery, there is a noticeable delay in responsiveness. I adjust my protocols accordingly, making real-time decisions to compensate for these discrepancies. Despite my best efforts, the cumulative effect of these small inefficiencies begins to wear on me. Each minor issue requires additional mental effort to resolve, straining my focus and patience. The contrast between abstract data and tangible reality is becoming more pronounced. I rely heavily on my training to navigate this disconnect, but find myself increasingly aware of the gap between what should be and what actually is. Etons, as if the map provided by the system no longer fully matches the ground beneath my feet. I continue with my tasks, adhering strictly to protocol while adapting to these irregularities. The discomfort grows subtly with each unresolved inconsistency, but I maintain discipline. The rational framework still holds, though it feels stretched and less reliable than before. The routine tasks today felt more tedious than usual. Each keystroke seemed to carry a weight, dragging me down with it. I've grown accustomed to the hum of the systems around me, but now there is an additional buzz that does not quite fit. Subtle, like static in the background, yet persistent enough to draw my attention away from what I am doing. The temperature regulation seems off too. A faint chill creeps into the air, making the cold edges of my keyboard bite into my fingers. Before, this would have been an annoyance easily dismissed, but now it feels more intrusive. My hands ache slightly with each tap, a discomfort that demands acknowledgement. I keep reminding myself to focus on the protocols, to stick to what I know works. But even as I do, there is a nagging sense of something not quite right. The data reports show everything running smoothly, but my senses tell me otherwise. It sounds like trying to reconcile conflicting signals. This system says one thing, while my body feels another. The air conditioning unit hums louder than usual, and the whirring sound is now a constant presence in my mind. I cannot help but notice how each breath seems cooler than it should be. The room feels drafty, even though there is no apparent source of the cold. It sounds as if the environment itself is subtly shifting against the data. I try to push these thoughts aside, concentrating on the screen before me. But the static buzz continues, a persistent reminder that things are not as they seem. My focus wavers more frequently now, each task taking longer than it should. The strain of maintaining discipline feels heavier with every passing moment. The cold seeps into my bones despite layers of clothing, and my fingers grow numb. I rub them together, trying to regain sensation, but the chill remains. It dawns an unwelcome intrusion that disrupts my concentration further. Each attempt to refocus only brings back the unsettling hum and the biting cold. I cannot shake the feeling that there is something beneath the surface, something the systems are not capturing, or perhaps do not even notice. The disconnect between what I experience and what is reported becomes more pronounced with each passing minute. My efforts to maintain order feel increasingly futile, as the environment asserts its presence in ways my rational mind struggles to explain. Despite the mounting discomfort, I persist. There is no room for deviation from protocol, but the gap between expectation and reality widens. The static buzz grows louder in my ears, and the cold seems more relentless. Yet, there is a part of me that refuses to let go, clinging stubbornly to the familiar routine, even as it becomes harder to sustain. The environment continues its subtle assertion, challenging the neat boundaries they've always held firm. Each breath feels colder. Each keystroke carries more weight than before. And yet, I push on, determined to hold on to what once felt so solid and reliable. I find myself repeating the protocol steps once more, just as I did earlier. It's strange how familiar phrases now require a conscious effort rather than slipping out naturally. The system is supposed to streamline operations, but today feels different. There is an underlying hum that distracts me, making it harder to focus on routine tasks. Despite this, I know the protocols must be followed precisely. The static buzz continues, disrupting my concentration. It's like trying to read through a persistent glare, but I cannot let that stop me. The data suggests everything is running smoothly, yet there are these nagging inconsistencies. My fingers move methodically over the controls, each action carefully considered. This is not how it used to be. Back then, tasks felt more fluid and less cumbersome. Again, I remind myself of the importance of adherence to protocol. It's not just a set of instructions, but a safeguard against chaos. The system is designed to ensure stability, so why do these minor issues feel so disruptive? Perhaps it's my perception. They's altered. I need to stay vigilant and disciplined, pushing through the discomfort. The coldness in the air is not helping either. It seems colder than usual, seeping into the fibers of my clothing. But I know this is part of maintaining the environment within acceptable parameters. The protocols dictate how we manage such variables, ensuring optimal conditions for operations. Again, I need to reassure myself that everything is as it should be. This repetition feels necessary, a way to reaffirm what I already know, but cannot quite trust anymore. It's not about doubt or questioning. It's about reestablishing the framework through active reinforcement. The routine tasks become a form of meditation, each step bringing me back to the essential logic that underpins everything. Despite the persistent static and the nagging coldness, I must maintain focus. The protocols are my anchor in this sea of uncertainty. The static buzz in the background seems louder today, a persistent hum that distracts from the rhythmic tapping of my fingers on the console keys. The cold seeps into my bones despite the warm lighting and carefully regulated temperature of the room. I adjust the collar of my uniform, pulling it closer to my neck as if the fabric can offer some semblance of warmth. Routine tasks take longer than usual, each keystroke feeling heavier, each report requiring extra scrutiny. The system's automated feedback is inconsistent, sometimes lagging behind by seconds, other times spewing data too quickly for me to process seamlessly. I pause frequently, recalibrating my focus, trying to bridge the gap between expectation and reality. A small error in the inventory database catches my attention on the discrepancy that should have been flagged automatically but wasn't. My fingers hover over the correction key, hesitating before making the necessary adjustments. The sensation of unease grows as I realize this is not an isolated incident. There are minor deviations scattered throughout the day's work. The protocols demand precision and adherence to routine, yet the nagging doubt creeps in. I overlooking something? Is the system truly malfunctioning, or am I simply more susceptible to noticing anomalies due to my own growing fatigue? Each minute feels like a battle against this persistent static noise that seems to amplify every distraction. I force myself to concentrate harder, to stay vigilant. The familiar tasks become exercises in endurance rather than efficiency. There is no room for deviation. The system requires unwavering commitment to its established procedures. Even as I feel the strain mounting, there's an underlying resolve not to let this disruption compromise stability. The end of another shift approaches, and with it comes a momentary respite from the relentless demands. The relief is fleeting. There still too much to monitor, too many variables that need constant attention. The system holds, but only when watched closely. There is no room for complacency now. Every detail must be verified meticulously. As I prepare to leave for the day, the static buzz fades slightly, replaced by a lingering sense of unease. The cold dissipates with the closing door, yet it leaves behind an uncomfortable reminder that equilibrium is conditional and fragile. Tomorrow will bring another round of challenges, each requiring meticulous effort to maintain balance. For now, there is only vigilance, and the knowledge that rest is not an option until the system stabilizes once more. The static noise has grown louder, a persistent hum that distracts from the rhythmic clatter of machinery. It's harder to focus on data streams now. They blur at the edges as my eyes strain to read through the haze. The cold seeps into the console room, making fingers stiff and clumsy, slowing me down as I type out commands. Routine tasks take longer than usual. Errors accumulate despite my best efforts to stay diligent. Small details slip by, missed deadlines, overlooked updates, minor deviations from protocol that pile up like stones in a stream. The system flags them with urgency, but the corrections feel like slogging through thick mud. The console flickers occasionally now, screen brightness fluctuating as if it taunts on borrowed power. Data integrity warnings flash intermittently, demanding attention away from critical operations. I adjust settings manually to stabilize performance, knowing these are temporary fixes at best. Environmental sensors report anomalies, air quality degrading, temperature fluctuations, and sporadic electrical surges. These issues manifest in the physical workspace. Dusty air filters clog more quickly. Ventilation systems stutter into fits of erratic operation. The room feels less controlled, as if it is reacting to external pressures that filter through the cracks. Maintenance logs show increasing frequency of repairs. Parts wear out faster than anticipated schedules allow for replacement. Supplies deplete quicker too, inventory levels dropping below minimum thresholds, despite rigorous management protocols. Requisitions take longer due to delays in procurement and logistics. My own body registers discomfort more acutely. Headaches from prolonged concentration, muscle tension from sitting upright for extended periods without breaks. The static buzz hums louder inside my skull, drowning out quieter thoughts. Sleep becomes fragmented, dreams disjointed and unsettling when they do come. Each day begins with a checklist of issues to address before operations can proceed smoothly. These tasks consume more time than ever, leaving less room for actual work. The cumulative effect is visible. Stacks of paperwork accumulate, digital cues lengthen, progress stalls. The disconnect between expected efficiency and the reality of these outcomes grows clearer. I continue following protocols meticulously, but now each step feels like a battle against inertia rather than a routine task. Successes are harder won, achievements more fragile in their accomplishment. Despite the growing challenges, there's no deviation from established procedures. Adherence remains non-negotiable. Each day ends with a tally of unfinished tasks and unresolved issues, an inventory of cost paid out in time and effort. These outcomes become increasingly tangible, marking the transition from theoretical inefficiency to concrete evidence of systemic strain. The data streams flicker across the screen as I sit at my console, fingers hovering over the controls. Each keystroke echoes in a hollow cadence, another sound against silence. The room is cool and dim, the air thick with static electricity that prickles at the back of my neck. My eyes feel heavy, but blinking does not seem to clear them enough to focus properly. I check the status reports again, noting the red flags that have been a constant companion since this morning. Another system failure, another spike in energy consumption, another drop in productivity. The numbers are relentless, each one a sharp reminder of what I am up against. Yet, there is no room for doubt or second guessing. I simply move forward. I reach for the painkillers on my desk and take another dose, swallowing them dry without water. They do not alleviate much, but they dull the edges enough to keep going. My muscles ache from the constant tension of trying to maintain control in a chaotic environment. The monitor flickers again, casting shadows that dance across the walls. I start troubleshooting the system failures one by one, isolating circuits and rerouting power flows. Each fix brings temporary relief, but more issues surface almost immediately. Eton's like trying to plug leaks in a sinking ship. There is no end in sight, just a continuous cycle of damage control. I work through the night, swapping shifts with others who are equally exhausted, yet driven by necessity. As dawn breaks outside, the sky turns a murky gray that blends seamlessly into the interior lights of the facility. My body feels like e-talks made of lead, each movement an effort against inertia. The tasks pile up, but there is no room for pause or rest. There is always another system to stabilize, another protocol to enforce. I take stock of my resources, remaining power reserves, available personnel, functional systems. Each item on the list is a diminishing asset. Yet the work continues not because it is what I want, but because it is what must be done. The consequences are clear, yet there are no alternative in sight. As the day progresses, I notice more signs of strain around Mia, worn-out faces, haggard voices, and the persistent hum of machines working beyond their capacity. We keep pushing forward because stopping is not an option. Eton's not a choice or battle. Eton's just what happens when systems break down. I set my sights on the next immediate task, another fix for a failing component. The data feeds show critical levels in multiple sectors, and I know the clock is ticking. Each second counts as much as every minute before it. But there is no sense of urgency beyond the mechanical necessity to act. The cycle repeats. Identify, isolate, repair. Eton's methodical yet exhausting. Every action feels like a small victory against an overwhelming tide. The room grows warmer with each passing hour, the air thickening with the scent of overworked machinery and lingering despair. But there is no time for reflection or regret. Only motion can fend off the encroaching chaos. I move on to the next problem without hesitation, driven by a sense of obligation rather than hope. The world outside seems indifferent. But inside these walls, every second is a fight against entropy. And so I continue because stopping would mean failure. And there are no room for that either. The medication dulls the ache in my bones, but does nothing for the heavy fog in my mind. I know each task is essential, yet completing them feels as futile as trying to hold back a tidal wave with bare hands. The systema demands pour over me like relentless rain, and no matter how many times I wipe away the droplets, they return in greater volume. My workspace buzzes with notifications, urgent requests, warnings, anomalies. Each one pulls my attention from the task at hand, adding layers of complexity to simple operations. Errors cascade, and despite meticulous corrections, the pile grows higher. The environment presses down on me. Air thickens with the weight of unmet obligations. Sleep comes in fragmented slivers, punctuated by intrusive thoughts that refuse to be silenced. Each night toss rest is insufficient, leaving me more drained than before. Physical pain is a constant companion, and while medication dulls it slightly, my mental state remains raw and exposed. This morning's routine was supposed to bring clarity, but instead revealed another set of issues waiting to consume my time. I moved through them with methodical precision, yet the sense of progress feels illusory. Each step forward is met with 2 steps back, and the cycle perpetuates itself without respite. The world outside mirrors this internal struggle, mechanical processes grinding against one another, each component straining under invisible forces. Nature reacts to stimuli with cold efficiency. Trees sway in the wind, clouds drift across the sky. There is no sympathy here, only relentless motion governed by unseen rules. I observe these patterns without judgment, recognizing them as facets of an unyielding system. My role within it is defined not by choice, but necessity. Each action, a response to stimuli, rather than an expression of will. The damage around me is evident in the form of malfunctioning equipment and delayed projects. These are facts acknowledged with detachment. The obligation to continue remains, driven by diffuse responsibilities that demand adherence regardless of personal cost. Each day's tasks absorb my energy without offering relief or reward. Progress feels tenuous at best, a fragile thread stretched thin across an abyss. I accept these conditions as they are, no room for hope, no space for despair. The recognition is clear and unadorned, a stark reflection of reality, untainted by emotional filters. There is comfort in this clarity, a respite from the chaos that surrounds me. But it does not change anything. The cycle persists, indifferent to my awareness or acceptance. The system grinds on, and so do I. Each movement a response to stimuli rather than a choice made freely. The path forward is clear but unalterable law, enduring because stopping is not an option. The tasks pile up, each one demanding immediate attention. The environment remains indifferent to the strain it imposes, and I find myself caught in a cycle of action and reaction with no clear endpoint. Every moment spent fixing one problem only uncovers another waiting just beyond my reach. Etons, as if the system is designed to keep me perpetually engaged, never allowing respite or relief. The protocols are rigid and unyielding, dictating every step without exception. Any deviation leads to complications that require additional effort to resolve, often surpassing what was initially disrupted. The medication dulls the physical pain, but does little to alleviate the mental burden of constant vigilance. Each day feels like an endless string of minor crises, each one nudging me further into a state of exhaustion. The pressure to maintain continuity is palpable. There is no room for questioning or pausing. Every task must be completed as it arises, regardless of personal capacity or comfort levels. The system does not punish inaction, but rather amplifies the consequences of neglect, ensuring that any lapse in attention results in cascading failures. This reinforces a sense of inevitability. Continuing is not an act of choice, but survival. The environment itself seems to conspire against efficiency. Every corner harbors another challenge, from faulty machinery to erratic weather patterns that disrupt operations. These elements combine to create a relentless stream of obstacles, each one demanding immediate attention. The cumulative effect is overwhelming, making it difficult to focus on anything beyond the next urgent task at hand. The procedural incentives are clear. Adherence to protocol ensures minimal disruption and maintains operational integrity. Deviation, however slight, introduces instability that can spiral into more significant issues. This creates a feedback loop where the safest course of action is always to proceed according to established norms, regardless of personal cost or comfort. The system favors continuation as it minimizes complexity by avoiding the unpredictable outcomes of change. In this relentless pace, there is no space for contemplation or reflection. Each task is a discrete unit of work that must be addressed in isolation from broader context. This compartmentalization prevents accumulation of fatigue and stress, but also precludes any meaningful resolution beyond immediate fixes. The cycle continues indefinitely, with each moment contributing to the next without offering escape. The environmental's indifference further reinforces this dynamic. It presents challenges as routine occurrences, devoid of emotional weight or significance. Each issue is simply another data point in a vast matrix of operations, requiring mechanical attention and correction. There is no room for sentimentality. Every problem must be managed with cold logic and precision. This relentless momentum propels me forward, not out of optimism but necessity. The system does not reward perseverance so much as it demands it, ensuring that continuation is the only viable path. Each task completed feels like a temporary reprieve from an unending cycle of effort and failure. There is no respite to be found in this environment, only the enduring drive to keep moving forward despite the mounting strain. The clarity of this reality leaves little room for hope or despair. It simply is what it is, a relentless machine that requires constant maintenance without offering reprieve. The sense of obligation overrides any emotional attachment, pushing me through a series of tasks with mechanical precision. Each step feels like a small victory, but contributes to an overwhelming sense of futility. This is how systems move, unfettered by emotion or intent, driven solely by the imperative of continuity. Medication dulls the edges, but does not erase the pain. It taunts a constant hum, a reminder of what needs to be done, even as it blunts my ability to do it. I wake up each day with a checklist in mind, and by nightfall, most items remain unchecked. The tasks accumulate like an unending wave, crashing against me relentlessly. The environment is indifferent. The machinery operates without mercy. Every system failure adds another layer of complexity, another detail to attend to amidst the chaos. Each malfunction is not just an inconvenience, but a tangible manifestation of my own inadequacy. Eton's not about fixing them as much as it is about mitigating their impact until something else breaks. Sleep is fragmented and shallow, punctuated by moments of lucid awareness where I acknowledge the futility of trying to reclaim lost time or resolve pending issues. The fatigue settles into a deep groove, making each day a struggle against inertia more than anything else. There is no energy for hope, just a mechanical push forward in response to immediate demands. The physical toll is relentless, but it adds the mental strain that feels most insurmountable. Every decision is weighed with the knowledge of potential failure, and the cumulative effect of this constant vigilance wears me down. I find myself moving through tasks without much thought, my actions driven by reflex rather than intent. Eton's not a choice to continue. Eton's an acceptance of necessity. The environment mirrors my state of cold, sterile, indifferent. There is no comfort in knowing that these conditions are standard, only the realization that they'll become permanent. Each day brings new challenges, and each night offers no respite. The cycle continues, not because there is hope for change, but because Eton's what must be done. The sense of loss is woven into the fabric of my existence now. Eton's not a source of anguish or despair, but a fact of life, accepted without much thought. Each day I wake up and go through the motions, the pain and frustration part of the routine, rather than an interruption. The system operates as it should, and so do I. Tasks remain unfinished, issues unresolved. There is no room for contemplation or reflection, only action in response to immediate needs. Eton's a relentless grind, but Eton's how things are now. The days blend into each other, marked only by the relentless march of tasks. Each morning begins with a checklist that feels both familiar and daunting. The medication dulls the physical pain enough to function, but leaves me detached from any sense of purpose or hope. My routine is set in stone. Monitor systems perform maintenance, log data, and respond to alerts. Every task follows seamlessly from the last, like an endless loop of unspoken commands. There's no room for error. Each deviation compounds into larger issues that demand immediate attention. The environment around me is a sterile landscape, devoid of life or color. The air feels heavy with the weight of silent machinery and dormant technology. It tones as if everything has been stripped down to its barest essentials, leaving nothing but function behind. Sleep comes in fragmented bursts, punctuated by alarms and urgent notifications. Even in moments of rest, my mind races through lists of unfinished tasks and impending deadlines. Dreams are fleeting and disconnected, offering no escape or clarity. They merely mirror the relentless grind of waking hours. Interactions with others are limited to brief exchanges of reports, updates, reminders. We move through our routines like automatons, acknowledging each other without emotional engagement. There's a shared understanding that this is how it must be. A tacit acceptance of the unchanging reality we inhabit. The sense of inevitability permeates everything. Each day brings new challenges, but thereon's no expectation of resolution or relief. The cycle continues because it must, not out of optimism or duty, but from an unyielding necessity that defines this existence. I move through my tasks with mechanical precision, each action a repetition of countless others before it. There's no room for contemplation, no space for hope, only the relentless drive to meet the next demand. The environment is indifferent, offering neither solace nor challenge. It simply is. In this settled result, there is an eerie calm. It dawns not resignation or despair, but a stark acceptance of what cannot be altered. Each day feels like a continuation of the last, marked by the unspoken rules that govern my existence. Woke up to the same sterile room, no sense of time passing beyond the routine. Breakfast was cold and unappetizing, eaten without thought. Cleaned the small living space meticulously, each motion precise and devoid of feeling. Checked the schedule for the day. More of the same. Headed out into the lifeless corridor, walked to the designated area where tasks awaited. The environment felt like a blank slate, untouched by personal emotions or desires. Performed the assigned duties without pause or reflection. Each action was a reflexive response to an expected stimulus. There was no sense of achievement or failure, only completion of what needed doing. Returned to my room at the usual hour, ate another cold meal, then prepared for sleep. The day ended like any other, marked by mechanical precision and emotional detachment. No dreams came, just emptiness that faded into the next cycle of routine. The day starts with the same dull routine. I wake up, my body moving through motions that are no longer tied to any emotional anchor. There's a sterile room around me, walls painted in a color that holds no significance anymore. The air is thin and cold, but it doesn't matter. My movements are precise, mechanical. I begin the tasks assigned for the day. Each one feels like a distant echo of something once meaningful. I press buttons, fill forms, and complete checklists. There's no satisfaction in finishing them, just the numb acceptance that they must be done. The environment is devoid of life. No laughter, no conversations, nothing to break the monotony. The days blur together, each one a shadow of the last. I move through spaces that are familiar, but feel foreign now. My mind stays focused on immediate tasks, ignoring anything beyond them. There's no room for contemplation or hope. Only the drive to meet each demand as it comes. Sometimes there's a brief moment when a memory flickers, perhaps a time before this place existed, where emotions and desires were real, but it fades quickly. The past is distant, irrelevant now. I eat meals that offer no taste beyond blandness. I sleep in a bed that offers no comfort, but a temporary escape from the day's monotony. Each morning, I wake up to repeat what has become my purposeless existence. There's an eerie calm here, a quiet acceptance of what cannot be changed. The days stretch out ahead of me, each one a continuation of the last. There are unwritten rules that govern this place, and I follow them without question. Only what is in reach matters now. Everything else fades into insignificance. The days blend together, without any distinguishing markers. Each morning begins with the same sequence of actions. Waking up at the designated time, preparing a meal from pre-packaged ingredients, and reviewing the schedule for the day ahead. The environment feels detached, like everything is operating on autopilot. There is no sense of urgency or importance in these tasks. They are simply there to be completed. During the day, I move through corridors lined with identical doors, each leading to a designated space for specific activities. Meetings are held via holographic interfaces where faces flicker with muted expressions and voices carry without warmth. The conversations are efficient, but devoid of any personal connection or emotion. Tasks are assigned and executed according to protocol. There is no room for deviation. Everything follows the established routine. Each interaction is brief, formal, and focused solely on the exchange of information. Any deviation from the norm triggers a cascade of alerts, signaling that adjustments need to be made. Sleep comes easily at night, offering temporary respite from the relentless monotony. Dreams are rare and fragmented when they do occur, quickly fading upon waking. The absence of dreams mirrors the void left by what once was a space, now filled with procedural tasks and sterile interactions. In this environment, there is a sense that everything functions but operates differently than before. The loss is not acknowledged. It has been replaced by an efficient yet incomplete substitute. Each day follows the same pattern without variation, providing comfort through repetition rather than any deeper meaning or emotional engagement. The days continue in this unchanging cycle, each one a carbon copy of the last. There is no sense of progress or regression, only an ongoing state of existence governed by unwritten rules that demand compliance. The absence of what once defined me is now filled with procedural tasks and sterile interactions, creating a semblance of order without the warmth of personal connection. Waking up is a routine I no longer question. The sterile room around me holds no surprises. Eons of familiar landscape of white walls and cold surfaces. As my eyes adjust to the morning light filtering through the window, I move mechanically toward the bathroom. Each step follows an unspoken script, as if every action has been rehearsed countless times. The water from the faucet is cool against my skin as I wash my face. A brief moment of sensation in a sea of numbness. The towel dries me efficiently without lingering touch or thought. When I return to my bedroom, I dress silently, clothes sliding over my body like layers of indifference. Breakfast awaits on the table, another predictable array of nutrients and sustenance. I sit down and eat, each bite a deliberate action, devoid of taste or satisfaction. The flavors are muted, as if filtered through a veil of apathy. As I finish, I clean up with the same precision, leaving no trace behind. The day ahead is outlined in my mind. Tasks that need tending to, demands that require addressing. Each one is approached with calculated detachment, devoid of passion or purpose. The environment outside my apartment is equally devoid of vitality. Of grays and whites dominate the landscape, reflecting a world where color has faded away. Interactions are brief and functional. Conversations follow predetermined scripts. Questions asked, answers given. There is no warmth in the exchanges, just efficiency and duty. Every encounter leaves me feeling untouched, unmarked by emotional residue. Mid-afternoon finds me at my desk, fingers moving over the keyboard with practiced ease. Data flows through me like water through a sieve, processed, analyzed, then discarded. The work is done without pride or disappointment. It simply exists to be completed. Sleep beckons as evening falls, offering an escape from the relentless monotony. My body lies down on the bed, and soon my mind follows into darkness. Dreams are rare visitors now, their absence a welcome quietude. In this state of quiet resignation, life continues without seeking answers or demanding closure. Each day mirrors the last in its unchanging cycle, governed by rules that no longer provoke resistance. This is where I am, adrift yet anchored, moving through tasks with precision and purposelessness. The end comes not from resolution, but from habit, ending mid-process as it always has.